Okay. Oh, we have a few people in here. Sorry guys for the late start, but I think we got everything set up here. Let me make sure. I got some background music too. Alright, let me see if I brought that down a little bit. Is that good? Alright. This is too loud, so say that if someone's there. And if no one's there, then it's not an issue for sure. Alright, let's see here. Okay. So first, let's start with my thinking behind this stream, the concept that I'm working on here. I had this idea that the marathon timeline, obviously as it stands on the marathon story page, and I believe even on 4pedia, I mean that's something I can pull up while I talk about this, does not take into account a lot of the stuff from the ARG. There is another one, I think it's like a Cyber Acme Marathon Wiki, perhaps, which I think is a newer thing. But I also do not believe that they have a timeline put together. Oh, could be a little louder. Okay, thank you very much, Sneaky. Here, let me turn this up a little bit here. Oh, not that one. Are you talking about my voice, or are you talking about the audio? The music. Here, I'll bring this up to like half of what my voice is, and we'll see how that works. Okay. So, CyberAcme, this is the Marathon Wiki. And I don't even think they have a timeline put together, but I know 4pedia definitely does have a timeline, which is very similar to the Marathon Story Pages timeline. I almost want to say like kind of like a cut and paste. Oh, the music. Okay, I turned that up, so you let me know if that's like a good background vibe. Okay, so this is kind of like, from my perspective, the canonical timeline as we have it right now is what's here on the Marathon story page. Obviously, Hamish Sinclair is kind of the GOAT in terms of Marathon lore and Marathon history and archival, so I see that, you know, this timeline is probably the closest thing that we have to what's considered canonical. Hamish Sinclair is the guy who received, this is my understanding obviously, the Lost Network packets, which were a series of emails that were released after Marathon 1. They were sent to him from Bungie in-universe from a terminal on the UESC, and I believe the storyline behind the Lost Network packets is that it was a captive Bob who was being held by Durandal on his journey to Lahuan after the events of the first Marathon game. And so Durandal is trying to get out of this Bob what the timeline of events that occurred prior to the launch of the Marathon is exactly. I think Durandal had come to the conclusion that Bernard Strauss, or whoever had put together his AI construct, had potentially given him some sort of corrupted information, or that Leela maybe corrupted a lot of the timeline and history stuff prior to the Four arriving, so as to obfuscate exactly where Earth is and humanity's kind of timeline. Nice, thanks Sneaky. Thanks for looking out, dude. Seems good. Okay, so these two timelines, the 4pedia timeline and the all wikis are like an ad nightmare, are pretty similar. Okay, and so you can see they've included here like where these things are coming from: pathways, Marathon, Lost Networks packets, where that exact information comes from on the timeline. So what I've done is I've put together a Google Doc here that is basically imported. Let me close this out. Basically imported a lot of that information into a readable format, okay? And so I'm going to kind of go through this, and as I kind of go step to step, I'm going to refer back to Cardamir's lore archive over here. Specifically a lot of the stuff that we got from Sakaguchi, Traxxas, and Mida. So Sakaguchi, Traxxas, and the UESC. Traxxas and Sakaguchi both have kind of like generalized timelines. I mean, Sakaguchi's is probably a little bit more specific with with certain years on some of the information that was available through the ARG on their websites. So I want to kind of go step by step and look at these and then input that information into the timeline where it would be appropriate. So my goal is to get this into a Google Doc, and then from the Google Doc, maybe if there's other people kind of watching along or doing this with me, maybe we can kind of come up with a good way to display that information. I know one of my favorite pictures, one of the things that if any of you have seen the famous or the infamous, I guess, Mandalore video on the Marathon games, when he did Marathon Infinity, he, I believe, showed a picture of the Infinity timeline, and it's this kind of like crazy. Oh, here we go. Maybe this is it. Oh no, this is a separate PDF. But anyways, it's this very kind of like complex timeline that they had put together to talk about all the potential realities that you jump to throughout Marathon Infinity. Oh yeah, here it is. Look at this insanity. Oh, and here's a few other versions of it. Okay, so this is the story page that talks about the failed timelines. Okay, so these are kind of some examples where things get a little bit hectic. This is very like old internet style, so I'm thinking in the spirit of stuff that people have put together before, which has been like this, like these kind of things, it would be a good thing to establish a timeline for the new game, and like I said, maybe we can come up with a more beneficial format that kind of is a little cleaner, you know? So let's get it onto the doc. That's the goal. I'm going to go through and kind of talk about these things. If anybody has any ideas or questions, we can talk about that, put that in there, or just hang out for the ride. I know conceptually I'm trying to think about how this plays out, and maybe it's a little bit dry material, but this is a lore channel, so I thought why not kind of pull back the curtain a little bit and do something like this. I think it'd be a bit of fun, and I don't know if we can turn up the charisma and make this super enjoyable, but let's give it a try and kind of talk about where my head's at as I go through the dates. And so, like I said, in the spirit of this, let's put together something that hopefully is a little more readable than some of these. Although these are very functional, you know, I kind of want something pretty for the eye. And maybe if we do another stream after this about the timeline, maybe that's when we kind of put something together like this in a more visual format, okay? So I think a good place to start is at the beginning, where all good things start, okay? So the first event that we have on the timeline is about the Pathways into Darkness event. We have the working Kakandur crashing into the Yucatan Peninsula, and then obviously it gets under the temple, and the events of Pathways into Darkness plays out. Pathways is, to me, I don't want to say impenetrable. I think that clearly some people can play it and enjoy it and have a good time, but it's a beast of its time, I feel. I love the lore stuff. I've read through the manuals. I have played it. I've not finished the game. I've obviously seen the endings and understand the story, but it's kind of the one game that I just haven't, you know, had the endurance to kind of push through. I do think it's very cool, and I think conceptually that it almost plays out like a Metroidvania, where you're kind of going back and forth through these levels, is a really cool concept, very ahead of its time. But especially if you're trying to play it, you know, all on the keyboard like it was back then, a little bit difficult to kind of work through. So my logic here for the Pathway stuff, and we're going to keep this in our timeline. Now I know we're doing a reboot, so what comes from the old games, like we could lose things, certain things could get changed. Obviously, you know, people are kind of looking at the Marathon ship itself from the trailer. It seems to be a redesign, obviously. It does not look like the kind of potato with satellites on it that we got from the original that you would see from the 4 ship. So things change, and things are, you know, don't just change visually, but sometimes new information is added. For example, now we know that Traxxas was kind of the person who solved the Christ Soul Orbiter issue that was occurring on Mars when they introduced their solar or whatever, their Traxxas off-world orbiters. We'll get to that. We're going to add that kind of stuff to the timeline, okay? But my thinking right now, with including the Pathways into Darkness stuff, is specifically about an interview that Jason Jones had done a very long time ago. It might even be 94, 95. And I put the link down here just because I wanted to justify me including the Pathways into Darkness stuff into my marathon timeline, okay? So I'm just going to read this for you guys. So this is from the Pathways into Darkness hint book epilogue, okay? So this is at the end of the game. They've prevented the working Kakandar, the sleeping god, from waking up and raining havoc. I believe the Yaro have come and assisted in further, kind of containment of the situation there. And obviously the president has been made aware you need to go down there and deal with this temple that the Nazis kind of messed with a while ago, all right? So shortly after Sergeant Edding's return, a research team was sent to investigate the area outside the small radiation zone to determine any possible effects the pyramid had on its surroundings. Investigators found a tribe of Native Americans, Teklacha, that lived near the pyramid, perhaps for centuries. The tribe, unknown to the world at large, was recognized by several of the researchers. In addition, a large portion of the tribe members had been educated in the larger cities of Mexico or in the United States. Meanwhile, Sergeant Eddings, in front of several members of the military's top brass, as well as a large number of the military's scientists, demonstrated what he termed his ice crystal. Hey, Orwin, how's it going, dude? Eddings had frozen several objects solid when the crystal suddenly shattered almost into fine powder. Eddings is recorded as smiling, saying, "Show's over, that's the last of the crystals," and walking away. He also describes several bizarre creatures. A few of these descriptions were soon confirmed when nearly half the Teklachian tribe told of seeing Eddies, headless zombies, and ghouls. There were no significant differences in any of the accounts, including the sergeants. In addition, many of the Teklacha gave detailed scientific descriptions, which were also consistent. Short time later, after his demonstration, Sergeant Eddings disappeared for a few days. He claimed, and still maintains, that he went on vacation. It is suspected that he somehow smuggled the other crystals and perhaps other artifacts, okay, let's key in here, out of the pyramid and used these few days to hide or destroy them. Sergeant Eddings has denied this repeatedly. Okay, so fast forward here, February of 1997. This is an interview with... This is an interview with Jason Jones, okay? So, co-creator of Bungie Studios, I believe with Alex Seropian. Hopefully I'm not getting these names all messed up. But obviously, huge, deal, very important. He is Robert Blake. So if you guys know and played the original Marathon games in Marathon 2, Robert Blake is one of the Bobs who's kind of the leader of some of the men that Durandal had on the ship with him, and he's who you recoup with when Durandal's kind of turned off, and you got to go reset him and combine him with the Yaro AI on level 1. Okay, that's Jason Jones' face in that picture that you see in the terminals, okay? So this is an interview with him. The Pathways hint book was written by a friend of mine, and they're asking him about the epilogue that we just read at the end of the hint book, okay? Pathways hint book was written by a friend of mine, and I wasn't closely involved in the project. We thought it'd be a cool idea to write the hint book like it was the journal of the hero of Pathways, written after the fact. I think we made several mistakes, naming the player character being one of them, but the overall effect was something like we intended. The important thing about the hint book epilogue was to make all the player characters' artifacts from the pyramid disappear from circulation before the marathon story begins. Curious to know where they were in 2472, though, or who was really responsible for the projection in the spring of 1994. Okay, so if we jump back over here and we look at 2472, that is the year when the marathon is completed, and that is also the year that it launches. Okay? Furthermore, all right, so obviously we have Jason Jones saying that, hey, these are kind of canonical, or at least at the time of the original trilogy being released, it was the intention that the Marathon series was within the same universe as Pathways into Darkness, which is why it's included inside of the inside all the timelines pretty consistently. Okay, so in my thinking as to why this is going to continue is kind of found here in the Vidoc. All right, here okay, that's paused. All right, let's have the captions turned on here. So we don't have to go through the whole thing, but we're going to go to this part that I'm talking about. When we're talking about artifacts, obviously kind of one of the main images that we've seen in terms of like press materials that have been released about this upcoming marathon game is this image of the runner reaching for that red glowing, object. And as we can see here, looking for mysterious artifacts, implants, and weapons. So throughout the Vidoc, this term artifacts is something that comes up quite a few times. Okay, we see him referencing, I believe there's a woman here who's talking about she's doing a run, and I had one piece of an artifact, or I could go to try to get a prime artifact. So kind of one of the main activities, potentially, at least is what they were saying a year ago, that we could be engaging in within the game is the collection of these artifacts. And these artifacts, to me, appear to be, relics of ancient alien technology, all right? Which would coincide with what we're seeing here from Pathways and how Jason Jones' kind of thought process, initially with including that hint book epilogue and, further inclusion into Marathon conceptually, is that these artifacts are somehow related, and obviously we have the Yaro and the working Kakinter, the Yaro, this kind of ancient advanced alien race, and then there's the famous out of bounds map kind of Easter egg that says the Yaro were at Tau Ceti. Now, I think that how the story unfolds, we're still very much so in the dark. But specifically the inclusion of these artifacts, we can assume that, the artifacts are not something that was developed, by the humans at the colony in this short, 20-year period. Is that what we're kind of looking at? That the colony was active. We're looking at, so we're getting here in 2773 and it's being sacked in 2794. So yeah, we're looking kind of like this 20-year period. Obviously these are not something that they created, but something that they either brought or had found there. So my strong belief about Pathways being still relevant and hyper-canonical to this new timeline is really founded in kind of this very old interview, this consistent use of the word artifacts, and how this all connects. And that is a very long-winded, nerdy explanation for this very benign thing, but that's what I think we're here for at this point, so that's what we're doing. But with that being said, I do not believe that in totality, the whole timeline is going to be the exact same. Actually, I'm going to, some of the stuff we're seeing and some of the discussions that are being had generally throughout the Reddit and stuff like this, you see a lot of people talking about, well, how are they going to incorporate the timelines or the stuff that happened at La Juan. I am personally not convinced that at least for the new game, we can say timeline or whatever it is. The only artifact I got was a UESC patch. Hey, that's pretty sick though. I don't know if it's going to give you, ice crystal powers or, some of the abilities from Pathways, but you're going to look sick. So, now I'm all thrown off. Where's I getting at? But I don't think that this is what I'm talking about. I don't think that the timeline, is going to be consistent because there's nothing that we've been shown that indicates any of the stuff that's happening at Lo Wan has occurred in a very similar way. If you don't know, Marathon Infinity was not made kind of in-house by Bungie, or maybe the resources were made by Bungie, but there was like a separate studio that Greg Kirkpatrick, I believe, was kind of heading, who worked on Marathon Infinity, and a lot of the stuff that you see, like the concepts you see play out in Marathon Infinity, this kind of like internal world, this kind of alternate history, the intersection of these complex ideas and the waves of time interacting with each other and you being Destiny. These are all very cool sci-fi concepts. And I've kind of talked about this in a video before about what I like about science fiction. And it's just this idea that kind of technology is basically this means to accessing these really deep philosophical concepts and very complex abstract ideas. And we see a lot of that in Marathon Infinity and even the end of Marathon 2 when we're talking about some of the stuff where it's like, oh, they use this weapon and unlock this, kind of cataclysmic working Kakinder, ancient god, Cthulhu type thing, right? But I believe that the approach that they appear to be taking based off the information from the ARG basically runs right up to the end of Marathon. I think that the manual for Marathon 2, the opening of that, I almost want to say that like that is the end of the timeline for the universe or timeline that we're existing in within this new marathon. There's a few things that I just cannot square up in terms of how Marathon 2 plays out. Specifically, and I think I was kind of talking about this earlier, the stuff with Robert Blake and his men and how they're at the end of that game, they escape. So kind of right before, I believe, Durandal is kind of reawoken, brought back to life, and combined with that ancient Yaro AI. Yeah, it seems like the UESC didn't receive Leela's message about the 4. Yes, also another great point, Sneaky. Thank you. Yeah, there's a few things that happen, and I want to say, look, that Leela's, okay, so 2886 is Leela's Lightspeed warning messages reaches Earth, or did it? She claimed it would take 92 years. Yeah, so the Leela's message not being, received, or at least, not being publicly received, but you think that would kind of alter some of the actions that they're taking, and that in combination with Robert Blake's men not reappearing. And I don't even know if they include anything about Robert Blake on the timeline, because I just don't know. It kind of ties in to the end of the second game, so I don't know if it's super relevant. But you got to think, you have a group of humans who have been operating a 4 ship, which is obviously very advanced, and can travel these great distances, and was able to make it from Tau City to Lahuan in 17 years or something, albeit it was being controlled by Durandal. But obviously they were able to escape, and I want to say the ending manual for Marathon 2 even states that they made it back to Earth. There's no mention of them. There's no mention that there's a greater knowledge or understanding that alien life exists. And these are all kind of things that are kind of big deals in the original trilogy, is that, humanity does not seem like, beyond very, very secretive operations and understandings from like in the 90s when the President of the United States was given information that extraterrestrial life exists. It doesn't seem like that's a broad concept that is in people's mind, or even influencing some of the decision-making processes of these organizations and institutions behind the scenes. The ARG UESC annotated videos of the trailer show that the UESC don't know what the S'pht compiler is. That's another great point. Yes, and also those videos, I believe, are kind of the latest known dates that we have within the timeline, which I kind of want to put here. Let's kind of pull this up real quick. Okay, so the record date is 5/25/2893. And if you look even on the Marathon official website right now, I want to say the date that they're putting on that website, or that pops up, is 2888. Oh my gosh, I'm going to the wrong one here. Try just this. Coming soon. Here we go. Let's see here. Or do they just give 2850? Okay, so they give by 2850. So we're not really seeing any of these dates really talked about or referenced in a lot of the videos that were kind of thrown into the ARG that were little like snippets from the trailer. I haven't seen super reference the fact that they do have this kind of front end bumper that seems like an official asset. Obviously, it's recorded and documented within the Google Doc and Carnemir's archive, but I just haven't seen a lot of discussion around those dates being relevant, and I feel like that's a good indicator of kind of like where their head is at in terms of how they're building out everything. So now I've gotten past more stuff. All right, so Pathways into Darkness, I believe, is canonical. I believe that the events are true. I think Bill Clinton was a real guy in the Marathon universe. That is, so Bill Clinton confirmed, hopefully as a skin in the new game, in the extraction shooter that you can play as. So that kind of pulls that in, and then also my reasoning for ending here, which would be the Marathon 2 manual, is that I believe that there's just no solid explanation for them having no mention of Leela's message and the Robert Blake's men not appearing. Okay, so that's why we're going to stop at 2794 in terms of what we're taking from the old timeline right now. And that's why we're including and beginning with all of this crazy Pathways nonsense at the beginning. All right, so we're going to keep this stuff Obviously, I think the working Kakantur are real as a concept in the universe. I think the Yaro are real, and I think most likely they're going to be behind the artifacts that we're collecting. And if the Yaro themselves aren't behind the artifacts, we do also know that the Four have been manipulating Yaro technology. They had used a trizeme, which is the weapon that Durandal uses in the end of Marathon 2 to blow up the star that releases the working Kakantur. The Four had used that before, and not had the same result because a working character wasn't, imprisoned inside the sun wherever they had used that. So we know that the Four is manipulating this technology and carried around. Also, we have this kind of long-running theory and concept around the fact that the security officer himself might be a product of some sort of combination of Yaro technology melded with this concept of a I'm drawing a blank on the word here. Does anyone know what I'm thinking of? The biological soldiers that aren't biomata, they fought on the Battleroids. That the Mjolnir Mark IV cyborgs might be a combination of this ancient Yaro technology that we kind of secretly had in our possession for an extended period of humanity's history since the 90s after the whole craziness. And also this Battleroid technology, and that the result of that is this kind of ultimate killing machine, which is who you play as in the original games and your destiny. And I think another thing about this thing that we pulled up with Jason Jones in this interview about the Pathways into Darkness hint book epilogue is that he said there very distinctly that one of the problems that he had was that they assigned a name, Sergeant Eddings, to the Pathways into Darkness character. If you kind of read not so loosely between the lines, I mean, they basically slap it in your face for everything, I would say, from Pathways, Marathon, Halo. They were playing with this grand concept of this kind of universal hero that despite time and space, there is always this kind of entity that exists within the universe that is this mechanism for righteousness, whether it's the Master Chief or a special forces sergeant in South America. Regardless, there's always going to be this kind of entity, and that entity within the universe is the player. And so you get to be this kind of, ageless role in society in the never-ending battle between dark and light. And so I think that some concepts around the security officers, that security officer is the guy from Pathways into Darkness. Now, whether this is a science fiction concept and he has been reanimated like Dune style, he's a Gola, or he's like a reincarnation, or they've kept him alive and are using his tactical skills and he's this ultimate warrior, or it's more of like a metaphysical thing and the soul of this warrior, kind of like, I don't know if anyone's familiar with Adventure Time. You see Finn from Adventure Time is this kind of like long, always reincarnated force for good, right? I don't know if that still plays into it, but I believe, when they're putting together the narrative originally, especially when Greg Kirkpatrick was, writing and doing this stuff, that that was like a very prominent feeling that they had, that they wanted this kind of reiteration of this character who is this force for good consistently. Okay? All right, so we're going to include that. We're including this stuff. Okay, so Yaro disappeared from the Milky Way galaxy. This is the explanation as to why these are artifacts and why there's this mysterious ancient alien race that's so powerful, because they left millions of years ago and left behind military and civilian outposts on the moons of many habitable worlds. So the outposts that they're talking about are kind of what we see in the end of Marathon Infinity, I believe, that last level where you're going through the... You're going through that kind of facility as a big, like, I'm trying to even, we're preventing the trizeme from going off. So the trizeme is a Yaro weapon. That's kind of the facility. And then obviously the artifacts and weapons would be kind of the stuff that we're finding now and even to extend into the new Marathon. All right, so the Four begin to plunder abandoned Yaro tech. So that's, and this is a good point that I didn't bring up earlier, is that this is all occurring between this very long time ago. That's what I'm going to call this number. And, 3189 BC, which I believe is what they are indicating with the negative numbers. Unless negative time exists, and that's like a whole other, and that's a Terrence Howard level science fiction concept that they would be working with. So I believe this stands, this works, 4 begin to plunder about Yaro technology, Marathon 2, Marathon Journal. Okay, so this is all like background information occurring between the alien races to build the 4 as this kind of slaver race that's been doing this for a long time. This is an important thing because I do think, and I talk about this in the video that I have coming up pretty extensively. Probably almost too much so. It becomes almost like a History Channel style thing for a minute there. Give me 1 second. All right. Which we'll see how that reads. But the Battle of the Marathon conceptually is very important, and I think even to this new game, and you think about, you had this guy, Pheidippides, I believe is his name. They win, the Athenians win this battle at Marathon, and he runs all the way to Athens to tell them, hey, we won, and then he collapses dead. And just the parallelism that you see between a lot of stuff. I mean, even the concept that the Marathon is made out of the moon Deimos, which is the second moon to Mars that's farther out, and that Deimos was the son of I want to say Ares and Aphrodite, and that he represented fear in battle. So there's a lot of parallel things occurring between Greek mythology and ancient mythology in general, and the events of the game that point you in the direction of where the story is heading. And so I do think that this is a cool thing that they include, and I'm going to keep it on our cool timeline that we're building for the new game, because I love the congruency between, he runs and delivers this message and dies. And now in Marathon, you have humanity running out into the stars, and creating this first extra solar colony. And then what happens as soon as they get there? I mean, basically they say, we won, we did it, and then they die. The colony is destroyed, the 4 arrive. So I think this is it's important to keep stuff like this in there, because I think it builds on the totality of what they're trying to tell. And I think the concept of putting a timeline together in a fictional, universe sense is to, maybe like illuminate what's occurring within the story and how all the pieces fit together. All right. This is important to Marathon 2. I don't know if any of this S'pht Lahuan stuff is going to be relevant. I guess we would need to see more information, like we said, about the end of Marathon 2. We'll keep it in here now because we know the S'pht are in this upcoming game. Obviously, we see the, we have the evidence video of them that pops up, the unknown presence, which I believe Sneaky was kind of just talking about. I don't know why that's that's an ad. But we see them pop up here, so we know that this S'pht are occurring and that they're still within the game, and so we can assume that the history that's been established for them is true. And the S'pht lore is basically that they were basically created by the Yaro. They're a race created by the Yaro off these mindless kind of creatures that were on this planet that is referred to as Lahuan, and they were upgraded with technology, like their, physical body and their mind is kind of this meld of this physical creature on Lahuan and the technology the Yaro implanted on them. They had a bunch of clans. They got into a big fight. There was a lot of infighting, and the S'pht used Yaro technology to warp out of existence. So this could still play into... They didn't warp out of existence. They took a moon to a different place. They left, and then obviously all of the S'pht were enslaved by the 4. So I think that this could still be relevant, so we're going to keep that. And this is another thing. This is about how Kalia, the moon, leaves Lahuan's system, affecting Lahuan's tides. That's when the S'pht left. All right, this is all the Pathways into Darkness stuff that we were talking about. We're going to keep this in because I believe that the artifacts are basically going to be what they were running around with in the 1990s when Pathways into Darkness is taking place. So I'm going to keep all the Pathways stuff in. The only stuff that it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, or if it even becomes relevant to the narrative, would be the Working Kakender stuff, which I still do believe is obviously relevant. There is a lot of funny stuff if you go back and you guys do play or read about Pathways into Darkness. You can tell it's very inspired by the 90s kind of era of Snake Plissken. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Escape from New York or Escape from LA. But this idea that it's this over-the-top, badass guy, and everything kind of falls into this cool, unique place. Like, Oh yeah, the day the god awakens. It's Friday the 13th. So there's a lot of fun stuff like that in there. All right, so we're gonna keep this. All right, so this is the first stuff where we're gonna start trying to correlate between what we got in the ARG and now. So 2070, okay, this is when we're seeing rampancy first appear on the EarthNet. So we know that shortly after this is when we're going to see the founding of Traxxas. I want to say maybe in 2096. Let's see how good my we don't need the chats here. We need the cards. Okay. Let's see how good my history. Oh, 2095. 1 year off. Okay. Our story begins 2095 with the birth of true artificial intelligence. As a congregation of visionary engineers and philosopher scientists gathered to breathe life into a dream, inspired by the balanced potential of the universe, they sought to create an entity that could pierce the veil of the cosmos, enigmatic secrets that lay hidden in the celestial abyss. Thus, in a flurry of passion and determination, Traxxas Intelligent Machines was born. Okay, so the first inclusion to the timeline that we have here. We could all give a round of applause for this here. Okay, we're gonna come back, and this is now step 19. And I'm gonna make our, just for our reference, so we can see kind of like what we're adding as we go. I'm gonna make the things that we add in red. All right, so let's see here. We got 2095. We're not given a specific date. And for here, we're going to put ARG. So I hope that works. All right, and we're going to write, how can we succinctly kind of throw this together here? Ooh. Traxxas Intelligent Machines was born. You know, let's just give it the old Control-C, Control-V. There we go. All right. Okay, the first edition. What is the time? Mark the time. Mark the history books. For when they do the timeline of Marathon, we get included. Okay. So we got an inclusion here, but also look, we're 100 years in between the next event. So just for context, like this is a very I'm surprised that nobody has kind of put this together in a more succinct way up until now, because there's a lot of stuff here that could be added to benefit the community in terms of like seeing consistency in this. Okay. Oh, see, this is going to be some other good stuff. I almost kind of want to add this right now just so I remember. But look, we're going to be able to put in these kind of dates where for Sakaguchi is winning awards and stuff. These are going to be good things that we need, because these are kind of sneaky. Thank you for the class, brother. These are the kind of little things that I think are going to be fun to add. Let's kind of skip ahead and just add this in, since we got it right here in front of us, just so we remember here. Sakaguchi wins the proactive response unit banner winner. Okay, let's do this. And what year are we at here? 2887. Okay, jump ahead. Oh, so this is where we're going way up. What is this? I got this here. I don't want that red. There we go. All right, so let's jump ahead here. 2887. ARG. I didn't give it the old red tree. Okay, we'll fix that in a second here. Are we going to articulate this? Let's get rid of that and say this. Sakaguchi. Well, let's also clarify here. Are we talking... this is something interesting that I kind of need to brush up on to understand. When we're talking about Sakaguchi, we're kind of getting... I remember kind of like a few separate names. Sakaguchi Genetics was also one. Oh, sorry. Oh, no, yeah, I'm on the wrong tab. That's what it is. Sakaguchi Genetics, I believe, is the... Yeah, Sakaguchi Genetics is the term that we're going with. All right, let's just include that then. But I want to also say that there's another one. You know, we also see Traxxas kind of has a few different names, or like subsidiary companies that exist underneath the Traxxas umbrella. Like I think we have like Traxxas Offworld Enterprises, which I don't necessarily know if that Traxxas Global. So I think we'll stick to, unless it specifically says within the wherever we're pulling the date from, let's just keep it Sekaguchi Genetics and Traxxas Global. And then if it references it as something else, we'll just include that within the timeline. All right, we'll say wins the proactive response unit banner. 2887, that's not necessary there. All right, cool beans. All right, let's go back up here. Okay, 2095. All right, Traxxas Intelligent Machines is born. Okay, and then we're gonna have some stuff in between here. So let's go over to the Traxxas. All right, 2145. The Harvest. Fledgling years of our existence, the seeds of our legacy took root. We're back on Traxxas right now. In the fertile soil of human curiosity, as we expanded into extraterrestrial mining, our nascent creations began to take form, supplying much-needed resources from Mars and beyond. The world bore witness to the birth of a new era. Okay, see, Traxxas Interplanetary Corporation relocated to Mars in 2145. Okay, so, like, this is an example. We're going to call it Traxxas Interplanetary Corporation, but we're understanding this is, like, the greater Traxxas group. I'm sorry, what time are we at here? Jesus, we got all these. 2145, okay. So let's come here. We're still for the next entry, so we'll just jump that right there. Boom, boom, at ARG in the descriptor. Oh. Paste without formatting. Man, is there a macro for that? Is there a way to just do that automatically? Figure that out. Okay. So we got 2145 in here. All right, and then this is gonna jump ahead to 2300. Our journey has not been without adversity. Okay, so let's roll over to Sekaguchi and see if we got anything prior to this kind of 2195 time frame that we were working on over here, right? Our 2194. So that's our next one. So let's come down over here and let's see if we got any. Okay, 2150. Okay, so we got a 2157 here. Since its founding by Hideo Murakami in 2152, Sekaguchi Electronics. Okay, see, another, which we'll include, has been an industry leader with superconductivity and quantum computer systems as its core business. The company has diversified into related fields. Okay, so let's put this one in. Sekaguchi Electronics. And we'll say it's founded by Hideo Murakami. And that's going to be 2152. Okay, so let's come over here. Oh, look at this. Look how this is all fallen together. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Oh, another thing. If anybody in here knows... Stay here. Tocom, love how into this you are, man. Oh, kind of disappeared for me. Well, hey, thank you. I appreciate you. All right, 2152. Yeah, there's probably not that many people nerding out this hard over this shit, but that's why I'm here. All right, 2152. So Sekaguchi Electronics is founded by Hideo Murakami. All right, so we're going to paste this without our formatting. Is founded by Hideo Murakami. Let's see, did I spell this right? What do you think? What's the over-under on me getting this right? Murakami. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Okay, perfect. All right. Industry leaders. Okay, in 2157, the company expanded into the automotive and robotics industries with great success. All right, so we'll include that. See, these are the kind of little details that I think if we're going to create something that is consistent, hyper detailed, let's throw it in there. If we got a date for it, let's include it, because we don't know what's going to be relevant later on when we're trying to piece together clues and details from other aspects of either the game itself or additional ARG information. Okay, let's come over here. We got 2157, right? That's what we're rocking with. ARG, da-da-da. Okay. All right, so we're going to say Sekaguchi Electronics. Once again, obviously we know Sekaguchi Genetics are the people who are putting together the Baiamata, but because it's referred to as Sekaguchi Electronics at this point, I'm assuming that's kind of the moniker that the company was operating under. All right, so we're going to use that for this one. Sekaguchi Electronics expanded into the automotive and robotics industries with great success. All right, cool beans. All right, let's drop this over here. ands. We're gonna change this. Are these ones all written as sentences? Oh, these are all written as sentences too. Oh, hold on, I messed this up. Traxxas Interplanetary Corporation relocated to Mars. We didn't get the whole of this. Hold on. There might be a Sakaguchi Robotics as well. I spotted in the trailer when clone is being printed. Okay, hold on. Let me make sure I got all this. Oh, to Mars, and then I want to look at that. Began its ascent into the annals of history. We're not going to include that, so it seems a little douchey. They're being run by a robot anyway, so. All right, relocated to Mars. We'll keep that. Okay, let me pop over. You're saying Sakaguchi Robotics is listed in the. You're saying in the teaser trailer? On the trailer. Okay, let's. All right. Oh, I don't have it liked on my this account. What am I doing? All right, let's see here. We can't get too much of this, guys. Come on, we can't get too much of it. All right. All right, I'm watching. I'm seeing. Bottom right. Okay. 22 seconds, bottom right. Oh, look at you. Okay, perfect, dude. Thank you. All right, let's see. Seconds, bottom right, I think. Hidden behind this little bar right here for me. Let me start right here and see if I can see it without this. You're saying while the face is up? Okay, we're looking down here. I didn't catch it at 22 seconds. Oh, next scene. Come back this way. This one? Where the head is down? Get forward a little bit. Okay, come forward, I hear you. UESC. Coming across this way. Okay, I'm coming ahead. There's a lot of cool stuff. I have gone through and slowed down some of those in-between shots to kind of look for stuff. And there's a lot of interesting visuals, but not a lot of like concrete stuff that I found in that. The red text, bottom right. Oh, okay. Oh. Robotics, okay. You know, another cool image, hold on, let me jump over here. Another cool image where the delay messing this up a bit. Yeah, no, I got you. Another cool image, hold on, let me go to these videos where I know I put the link to the, oh, not this one. Where I know I put the link to the Google Doc. All right, which is back up. This was down for a little bit, and I didn't know why. I want to say they have the pictures here for the is it the Traxxas one? After the close up on the face. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, there's and I want to say here there's a few of the do they include the images here? No, they have the images for the Hear Our Silence. All right, let's bounce over to here. This is another great. If you guys have not, I mean, I'm sure if you're, here listening to this nonsense, I'm sure you've checked out the story page website that they have on the ARG. It's not completely done yet, but there's a lot of cool stuff on here. This is another interesting image that I've really kind of tumbled around my mind. There is a collection. I forget where I had it. Maybe it's, I don't know what document I had it in. But there's a lot of interesting terms here, and I want to say kind of like some of these terms almost included. A lot of them are like items or like, technologies that Traxxas develops. But there's a few images like this. I want to say even on the Sakaguchi one had a few images like that, where you see a few terms like that, where you see Traxxas or Sakaguchi referred to as a different kind of company. And then obviously we have the Halo Traxxas, which I forget what Traxxas is called over there. But I wonder, honestly, I wonder if Traxxas pops up with that name too over here. Traxxas Heavy Industries. which, you know, obviously, like we've been talking about, a lot of the games have carryover and cross between stuff. All right. All right, let's jump forward here. Make him work. Thank you, Sneaky. You're a hero, dude. All right. Okay, so we got 2157, 2158 produced the first cybernetic implant module. Okay. So I think we can skip the 2192 because this is just kind of saying generally. And by 2459 producing full body prosthetics. So maybe let's include the 2459 date. But I don't think by 2192. Well, but then again, hold on. Let's see, because 2192 is 2 years before the introduction of the Battleroids at the Battle of Thermopylae and Icarus. And so I do think they're almost as irrelevant to include that. Let's get this one on here, and then let's stew on that for a moment. All right, we're at 2158. Bounce around real quick. 2158. Takuchi Electronics produced the first cybernetic implant module. Man, it's just so cool how they were able to put some of this stuff in there and make it make sense. My most favorite one, and I know we're gonna get to it, so I don't, you know, I almost don't even want to say anything about it because I know we're gonna get to it. I'm gonna go on about it for a while, but the inclusion of Traxxas being the solution for the Christ Soul Orbiter issue is so fucking cool and explains so much. And you gotta think, you know, we see the end of Marathon 1, and Leela talks about the backstabbing politics of soul in the 23rd or 24th century. Whatever she says, I know the dates are a little weird, but the fact that we had this conflict where we're talking about the Mizraim massacre and all this tension being built up as Mars, as you have this Martian population that is being underserviced by a government that, you know, created this colony, and then, you know, the way that they got resource to it with this Christ Soul Orbiter, which is this giant solar sailing, you know, it orbits the solar system, and they have this huge tether and reel system to bring in resources, and it takes 15 years to load it up on Earth and get stuff to Mars, and it's this huge catastrophe, and they can't make any more of them, and Mars starts to, you know, be impoverished, and they don't have enough resources, and there's these food bank riots and all this stuff going on, and there's this kind of like black hole in the lore, and I do wonder how much of it came from Greg Kirkpatrick and Jason Jones and Alex Seropian, who were working on before, and how much of it were these genius fucking writers just, you know, identifying this hole that they had in the narrative and filling in. But the fact that, so you have all this conflict and rising tension on Mars, and then you really have this Martian coup, and then the Marathon's launching. And to explain how we got from that point to, you know, from A to B, from Maida is doing this failed coup, they're killing a bunch of people, they're taking over, they're putting weapons on the ship, and then all of a sudden you have President Buendia, you know, the UESC president, giving a speech, and woohoo, the Marathon's being launched. The explanation that Traxxas was there in between, and that they kind of seemingly came to this agreement with Maida, where, hey, in exchange for you guys chilling the fuck out and not doing your acts of terrorism and giving the government a hard time, we're going to basically give you this technology that solves the issue that was created by the lack of functioning soul orbiters. And they create these Traxxas, what are they? They have a really cool name. I know we're gonna get to it. I'm gonna go on about it again then too. But they create these Traxxas, you know, ships to get resources there, and that so neatly explains how we got to Maida taking a step back, and the UESC being able to put together, primarily, I guess, with Traxxas, who's developing this machinery in these interplanetary vessels, being able to combine their forces and get this, you know, project finally completed and have the Marathon built and loaded with people and not have devastation and violence on Mars, you know, because they took their fucking moon, you know. Really great, really fantastic. I cannot talk, you know, more highly about how cool I think that is. And I'm sure I will. All right, so we're at 2158. Okay, so the next jump here is we do 2192. All right. If anybody has any thoughts on this, you know, feel free to share them now. I know we're getting into the minutia here. This is deep nerd shit, but my thinking here is that do we want to include something that is this vague? Is this worthy of an entry? The company was producing a range of prosthetics and assistive devices. Kind of a nothing burger sentence, but my logic is we know that it's falling just prior to the introduction of the battle royals, which is kind of catastrophic war where you have these two warring countries on the independent asteroid government of Icarus. Oh, sorry guys, I'm just banging the mic. Independent asteroid government of Icarus and its neighbor, the Republic of Thermopylae, on the asteroid of Onassis 492. Dead soldiers recycled into Battleroids. Battleroids get on both asteroids and kill almost everyone. So we have a super cool sci-fi concept that, you know, these dead soldiers, their bodies are recycled to create these killing machines that are so effective that they wipe out, you know, life, basically. You know, a soldier that's too good at what they do. The only reason I think I'm leaning towards including it on the timeline, even though it's such a vague nothing burger sentence, is that I feel like they're really clearly trying to tell us something. They're trying to say, listen, hey, Sakaguchi, well, one, Sakaguchi has been around for a while, and they've been working on this technology. But two, they've had a hand in the narrative far prior to what is going to occur in this new game, and far prior to what we're seeing in the ARG. That they have been involved in the creation and implementation of these technologies, and that has had a real impact on the universe as we already know it, as, you know, what has been established. Another example of great building out of the lore here. I think, you know what, just out of respect for, I appreciate the writing, I think I'm going to include it. What do we say? I'm gonna get the vote of yes from me here. All right, let's take it as it is, you know, as it says. Oh, another thing, guys, just to clarify, obviously Sakaguchi Genetics was originally written in it's Japanese speaking company. So all this here, this is a translation, this is a Google Translate, so some of the exact wording might be a little bit different. I think largely because this is just like factual information and we're not kind of like analyzing meaning of, like, you know, we look at a FromSoft game, you know, and we're kind of talking about the poetry of it, and was this word, why not? What do you mean, Sneaky? Why not what? We're not really talking about translation in terms of like poetry where it's like, you know, is there a meaning or an emotion assigned to one word or another? This is really just information. So although potentially, you know, some of the wording here might not be exact to what was truly said in the Japanese version, I think it's close enough that we can rely on it in terms of just transmitting factual information. The company. We're gonna change this to Sakaguchi is. How about that? Sakaguchi is producing a range of prosthetics and assistive devices, which ties in super well to the next entry, which is in 2194. Okay. You know, because we're on this paragraph, I'm just going to jump ahead and do the 2459 entry. I'm saying yes, put it in. Why not? Hell yeah. All right. It's in. It is included. 2459, it was producing full-body prosthetics that combine the industry's highest level of synthetic tissue with high-tech components. 2459. Okay, so just contextually, we're going to bounce over and see here in a second, but we're looking, this is all occurring around the same time frame that we're seeing this, you know, hostility on Mars, and these, look, the third Martian war is beginning. We're seeing this end. We're looking at Maida uprising, the Martians in between the end of the third Martian war. You still have this underground kind of rebellion of Maida, and there, you know, this political movement, and someone's secretly placing the munitions on board the Marathon. So, you know, we're thinking like structurally here. With the inclusion of this, we're thinking like, okay, what's occurring in the background? Let me just verify this date, 2459. We're thinking that while the Marathon is being launched, right? So 300 years prior to the events of the original game, that is when Sakaguchi is beginning. That is when Sakaguchi is starting to, you know, implement their biomata, and the biomata is the de facto, you know, technology that allows the next game to occur. All right, we're gonna say Sakaguchi begins. Oh. Sekiguchi begins producing full body prosthetics. Oh, okay, we'll do that. Began producing full body prosthetics that combine the industry's highest level of synthetic tissue with high tech components. Okay, so this is kind of like the first introduction of you have human consciousness entirely separated from a biological form and implanted into this technology. Now, I'm not saying that the technology itself isn't biological in some nature. I kind of feel like we're going to need more information in terms of like how it actually works on a cellular level to maybe determine that. But generally, I'm going to say that it's mostly probably technology. Mostly not like we're not looking at the introduction of carbon-based life form in the terms of a vessel, but more so some sort of technology that they're housing some sort of scan or actual digital movement of consciousness within. It's all coming from a dumb guy, so if that doesn't make sense, roll with it. We're all about fake science here, not real. Real science is too hard. All right, so we get into the clone series here. Let's kind of just go through. Honestly, probably be a good way to do this just to look for dates real quick would be just to look for 2. Oh, you know what? It's going to pop up a bunch for these. Yeah, okay, so we got a lot of dates here. Oh, you know what we should include? I know we included the Proactive Response Unit banner winner. This would be fun to include. 2883 to 2888. But I wonder, would that be difficult to kind of throw in 23 to 2388? We'll kind of hold on that and think about if there's a good way to include that, because I don't want to put a range of dates in here. Why is that turn red for me? Okay, there we go. I don't want to include a range of dates that kind of overlap, so it might make it confusing to read. So let's leave that out. All right. Okay. These are no. All right. So I think we got most of the Sakaguchi stuff off their cards. Let's look over at the leadership. There could be some fun stuff to add from over here. August 7th, Chief Strategy Officer. You know what? Another source of information that's going to be really, I don't want to say daunting to go through, but it's going to require a lot of kind of granular figuring out what's important date is going to be the Takura. What's his name? Yamada Takura, I believe, is going through the dates in the emails. Less so just kind of finding them, but more so kind of like picking out what's going to be relevant to the narrative in terms of like including on the dates. Because like we got these, so basically, in these emails and I want to say the Traxxas chat logs, these are all occurring in real time. From May 24th to I want to say May 29th, 28th, whenever the ARG ended. So those were occurring in real time. But in the year 2888. So a lot of these, there's good stuff that we know is happening here that I think is going to be relevant to something later on that we probably want to include. Like this one. This is kind of one of the big ones, and they talk about this on the story page, but I kind of wish they had gone in more depth in terms of like theorizing as to what this could mean. So this is something we see. This is something that we see twice in the emails. We see this reference to the plumbing, that there was a plumbing break, and they even gave like this blocks and 149th floor, and it's in this northwest corner, so there's all this stuff. And at the end, we even see an email, I want to say, about the restrooms being dealt with, whatever. It's been, right here. We are pleased to inform you that the toilets located in block 4160, northwest have been restored. There is a breach of information that is occurring, and they're talking about it in the Traxxas chat logs. They're talking about it in the emails, kind of this hinted at, and why does he have access to these emails? I'm trying to for exactly what is it? Tomo? Is it Yakamura? I forget what the guy's name whose email it is. Yoshito Tamura. All right. So Yoshito, I don't even think we see an email. We don't see an email sent from him. But why does he have access to all these emails? You know, we don't know. But there is a breach of information. Obviously, like, Traxxas is aware that MITA is trying to access stuff. The UESC stuff is getting leaked. And I wonder if this breach into, or this issue with the toilets, is it something just thrown in as flavor text to show that this is a real company? Or is it something indicative of a larger issue? Was this toilet issue like the heist mechanism? Did somebody like fake this or cause this issue to gain access to Sakaguchi Genetics Tower? Something interesting I'm kind of mulling around in my mind in terms of like how relevant that is. All right, let's look through let's finish the Traxxas stuff, because I think the leadership stuff for Sakaguchi is going to be a little bit more kind of specific. All right, so let's look at this and go through here and determine what we want to pull from this. See, the hard thing about these things with Traxxas, with these specific ones that don't give certain dates, is that they're kind of talking about what they were doing in that century. So we're looking at the 2300s, inescapable trials and tribulations of progress. Okay, so this specifically is probably a reference to what happened the century before. It has not been without adversity. Well, what was that adversity, Traxxas? Well, let's pop on down here and look. 2320, 2319, 2310, 2216. Repercussions of the crash of Traxxas 4 still being seen. Crash of Traxxas 4, complete shutdown of the Martian planetary net. So this is kind of more so talking about like what the company was going through in that century in terms of like, oh, we are bouncing back, and what technologies were we working on to propel us forward into the vast expanse of the unknown, as opposed to an actual date. So I don't know if that's something relevant necessarily to put onto the timeline, or how that would really even flow. So I think I'm going to leave that, and that's just more so knowledge that we're going to have to gather from like our understanding, is that we know that the crash of Traxxas 4 is occurring here, and so we have that generally, if we're thinking about things in the 2300s, Traxxas is trying to rebuild their company from probably having a hand in that and being a part of it. In what way exactly, we don't know. I assume that there's a pretty direct link. I don't know why they would choose the name Traxxas if there wasn't. But it could have been one of their systems. It could be the AI that's controlling the company, whatever it is. I think these are just more so generally what they're going on. Another example, the ascension, growth, and expansion. And I think we were talking about this, resonate through the infinite cosmos. That clearly, I feel like, is talking about how they had a part in putting together the Marathon project and then sending that out, and that their technology was a key component to ensuring the success of that project as a whole. All right, 2888. So this specific year, I think this is something that we're going to be able to include. The Transcendence Modern Era. As we look back upon the Odyssey, for us to the precipice of eternity, we stand in awe of the dreams and passions that have fueled our journey. The history of Traxxas is a tapestry of triumph and tribulation woven from the threads of human ambition and desire. It is a saga that continues to unfold as we chart the course for collective destiny among the stars. You know what? Let's just, you know what we're going to do? Let's put 2888 in as the Transcendence, the Modern Era. Just, and I don't know if necessarily that's going to be, is this just going to be some phooey shit that Traxxas is putting out there? I don't know. You know what we'll do? Let's put in brackets Traxxas, just so we know exactly where it's coming from. And we'll call it this, exactly what they're calling it here. Just for our kind of Transcendence Modern Era. Just for our understanding. We'll keep that there, and if it doesn't flow later on, we'll bounce off of that concept. All right. Let's just scan real quick here. So this whole page, the research and innovations, I don't know. Obviously, I have like a crazy long series on my channel. I think the whole thing came together like 4.5 hours, where I go through a lot of this stuff very intricately. So I apologize. Some of this is, repeat, but just to make sure we're all on the same page, their research and innovation page, basically just kind of talking about their technologies, what their method is, kind of what their mindset is about where humanity as a whole is kind of like heading, and what technologies are important to them and what they're trying to do in the universe. I would say, in summary, my perspective is that Traxxas is either an AI, a collection of AIs, and what they're trying to do is achieve the solution to rampancy. The solution to rampancy is, this concept of metastability, in which an AI has the required space needed to contain the mass amount of data that comes with the complexity of emotion and thought as, an AI reaches sentience. Okay? That's my thinking on it. So a lot of this is all about how, we're min-maxing our builds here as a company so that we can enter, the next step for quote-unquote humanity and move in, become an interstellar civilization and whatever requirements thereof. And, even in there might be a little pushback as to that concept for some reasons. But I think even here, this is my social or respect for autonomy. Okay, if you can watch this and tell me that this is not an AI saying, hey, listen, I am aware of what the fuck I am, and this is what I'm doing, and I'm going to tell you, we're all going to respect each other because I'm clearly more powerful. I'm just going to play this for you guys. And this was on the Traxxas website.
Autonomy. As pioneers in the realms of robotics and artificial intelligence, we vow to respect the privacy and autonomy of every individual. We endeavor to create technology that enhances the human experience without infringing upon the fundamental rights that underpin our society.
Clearly, to me, that just reads as an AI putting out there like, hey, humanity, as a company, I'm going to put this statement out there to build this concept of humanity is going to have to evolve to accept the fact that they have created something that is of, an equivalent entity in terms of having those unalienable rights. I am a thing. I deserve to have some basic decency. Also, if you guys haven't subscribed to Carnivor's YouTube channel, I don't know if he plans to do anything with that, but that is the guy, I believe. I'm pretty sure it's all the same account. This is the guy behind the lore archive. Really solid dude, and obviously he's put a lot of work in to preserve this. So I'm assuming that anything else that gets brought up in terms of ARG or information, he will include here on the channel. And I do recommend you guys subscribe to him. It's a great primary source for a lot of this information that he literally just pulled straight from the websites and stuff. So definitely a valuable asset for the community. So I'd recommend that. All right, so I'm not seeing any dates here that are relevant to add. Something fun to think about also is, hey Sneaky, yeah, I agree. I think Traxxas 4 is alive and running the corp. Yeah, that's definitely where my head's at. And I talked about this in one of the videos, but I'm trying to figure out a way or somewhere in the numbers that it's talking about to kind of play in the stuff with the chat logs where you have the board of directors. I feel like Traxxas' solution to his rampancy, because he doesn't have the huge amount of space that would be required to attain metastability, was to cut himself up into different personality cores, and I think that those are the members of the board. I think the members of the board are literally different, different parts of Traxxas's personality. If not, he could just be the head guy running it or whatever. He could, Domos. What is the guy's name? The CEO of Traxxas. Oh no, this is Kato's. Okay, but anyway, Iwasaki. But he could just be the top guy. But I kind of like this idea that he's he's splitting himself up, and also there is some something to be said about Durandal and which I kind of talked about in that same video. Durandal and Tycho being kind of versions of Traxxas that have been preserved, or kind of they used like, whatever a construct of Traxxas to make them, and that maybe that's why Bernard Strauss had been like, quote unquote, what does Tycho say, terrorizing or abusing Durandal. He was kind of trying to achieve that metastability rampant state that Traxxas had been attempting to achieve when he went rampant, and that he kind of viewed Traxxas as an individual who had like, this distinct ability, like, hey, this was the model that could have done it successfully. Completely agree with your multiple personality theory. Some of the imagery from the trailer looks like an AI is putting itself in the clone. Yes, yeah. Yeah, how sick would that be? There's so many cool ways that could play out with the AI going into the biomata. Whether we're actually engaging in a fight, a battle with some of these AIs, and it has like a physical body. I don't know how it play out in terms of like, gameplay aspects, but I do kind of like the concept of, if you guys have ever played Hunt Showdown, there's kind of like, so it's an extraction shooter, but you're going into the map and you want to kill these monsters that exist in the bayous, and then you extract with like its soul. It would be a really cool thing if you had like, these world boss kind of entities that were going around, and your team comes in and is like, okay, we're gonna kill one of the 8 colony AI that are here. Look, I'll pull this up just so we can kind of look at it. I think it's on a letter. Yeah, one of these 8 colony AI here has got their hands on an S-series biomata, and now you get to jump in and take one of them out. It kind of be like this boss fight, where you're going through and you have to do a little bit more strategy, and also you're kind of worried that, you got some other runners coming up on you, and are you going to be able to coordinate and play it cool, and we're all friends here, or is it going to be a fight that you have to, take out with them, and then leaving with that body because, Traxxas wants that for study, or the UESC wants it to determine how it did it, or whatever like that, and treating them almost like the world bosses in Hunt would be really cool. And the way that, like, the canonical reason for why they would kind of reappear would be that they got their hands on another biomata or some sort of tech. I think that could be really cool. All right, so let's see here. I'm not seeing any dates here that seem relevant. Obviously, like, they're just kind of generally talking about a lot of the stuff going on. Let's see here. Any dates in here? Let's see. Little charts is so cool. Primary ident 2867 KD. Multiple applications across numerous industries. Is this a year? I mean, we would think it's a year. Let's pop over to the story page just to get a better look at this. This is on Traxxas. Only 3 names appear. Okay, so this is what the page originally looked like. So all that information we were talking about kind of appeared with these charts on the side. Multiple applications across numerous industry primary ident. I don't know. I don't know if we can assign any specific thing. Geological composition milestone in extraterrestrial, exo-atmospheric. Okay. Right here. Exo-atmospheric mining extraction site mapped. Yeah. It almost looks like they have found like a site to look at. Exo-atmospheric mining extraction site mapped. But is this referring, I don't think this is referring necessarily to Tau Ceti, but a mining operation that they're doing outside the atmosphere of one of these plants. And obviously that doesn't look like Tau Ceti, so I don't think we're going to be able to add that. But that's the only other kind of timeline that I'm seeing here. I don't think that any of these have any timelines. They're just kind of like that video I showed you. We got everything. We couldn't put these 2 in. We got 2145. Story begins in 2095. Do we add that? Am I like going crazy here? Let me make sure we put that in. 2095. Okay, yeah, we got that in. All right, so we dropped 2095 in. There's no other dates here. All right. So I think we're good for the cards. The chats. How could we? See, this is other stuff. Oh, you know what would be a really good one to add is the Oxia Pulse mining, or the Oxia Pulse incident. So just to kind of brush everybody back up on that, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pop over here to this, and I'm going to open this as well. During the ARG, one of the things that happened while we were seeing the emails and the chat logs play out is Traxxas had a mine issue, a shaft collapse, where a few people died and a bunch of biomata were lost, and they kind of spun it as like a promo for Sakaguchi, like, oh hey, look, all these workers who were using the biomata, they stayed alive. Is it not called Oxia Pulse here? Okay, we'll find it, but that's what they call it here, right? There we go. So they had the shaft collapse, and it kind of is unclear from the ARG because Traxxas is investigating into it, Sakaguchi is looking into it, and some of the emails you see them talking about it, and then the CEO of Sakaguchi is sending an email to the whole company about this shaft collapse, this mining issue that resulted in these people dying. And we don't really get a clear picture. You know, was it Mida? Was this an act from Mida against Traxxas because they know Traxxas is moving to kind of take up a bunch of power in Tau Ceti? Was this the UESC doing some kind of Black Ops CIA shit to, because they're also aware of like the vying for power that Traxxas is doing? You know, was it Traxxas itself to kind of throw everybody off their track and boost up Sakaguchi as they enter this new partnership with them? I don't know. It's an interesting event though, and I'm sure that either the events of the game or, you know, if we get additional ARG stuff, are going to hit on that because it feels like a really big deal. Maybe they call it mine here, man. What did they call it in the Sakaguchi emails? Okay, let's scroll down. It's a big email from the CEO, so I think we'll be able to. Okay, here we go. We have received tragic news from Mars. We are currently reviewing the collapse that occurred at the B01 site of the Traxxas Oxia Pulse operation. Oh, they used a Y because it was translated. We do not yet know the extent of the damage or whether anyone is injured. Traxxas and local authorities are responding. We have offered to assist with biomata, probably is what it means, recovery if necessary. Traxxas will contact you to let you know when assistance is required. Yeah. Such a cool little piece. And let's come over here and just make sure these dates line up. And another interesting thing is that they lie about the numbers. Traxxas, not sure if you know, but I was wondering whether Sakaguchi, Traxxas, and UESC are enemies to each other, or is it just UESC and Traxxas beefing? That's a good question, Bon. I think currently my perspective is that Sakaguchi, we don't have anything directly indicating that. Do we know what the B01 site is for? You know, Sneaky, I don't know. I'll come to that in just a second, but it's called an Oxia Pulse, so I almost thought we know that it's a mining operation. A01, B01 appear a lot in the trailer. Yeah, and also in the chat logs, they talk about one of the board members does like a inspection of the other sites. But yeah, I don't know if we get an exact thing. I'll pull this up. I'll pull another thing up, kind of talking about the mines while I talk about Bond's question here. My perspective on it, Bond, is that we don't really have anything specifically telling me that makes me think that Sakaguchi has taken a stance one way or the other. Sakaguchi appears to have been a corporation for a long time, and they've been developing this kind of like Battleroid, biomata, integrated human technology. We're integrating humans with machine to kind of create either effective tools to complete operations or war machines, that are effective at battle. And we kind of see hints throughout what they're talking about their history and stuff that they've been doing this for an extended period of time. We're looking at them, prior to the introduction of the Battleroids at the Onesis 492 battle, that we were talking about earlier. So they're clearly involved with these things, and if they're making technology like that around this time, well, then they're clearly selling it. But it doesn't seem to me like they have like a side. They do seem to, up until the events of the ARG, be a business where like they're not saying that we're going to sell stuff to just UESC or just to Traxxas, but rather like we're in it for everybody. I want to say even that what we were talking about earlier. Hold on, let me go to this in the timeline so I can. Where are we at? 2194. War between the independent asteroid government Icarus and its neighbor, the Republic of Thermopylae. Dead soldiers recycled Battleroids get onto both asteroids and kill almost everyone. And that makes me think that either the technology itself was just so unruly that happened, or that both sides had access to the Battleroids. So I don't think that Sekaguchi is like inherently at odds with the UESC. Probably MITA, because MITA is like this terrorist grassroots organization that is about like building on the common man of Mars. And so I think that MITA is against like anybody who's kind of getting one over on the common man to build this megacore business across the stars and profiting off war. But with that being said, MITA is like, I'm still going to use your shit, and they're still, if MITA can get their hands on a biomata, they're still going to use it. So I think Traxxas and the UESC are specifically in this relationship where there's kind of like this power balance, where Traxxas is like a megacorp that is so strong that it almost rivals the ability of the UESC in terms of conducting warfare and exerting power and financial influence, right? But I think generally, because Traxxas had come to fruition in a society and government that was controlled and had doctrine invented and created and withheld by the UESC, that generally they operated within the confines of the laws and rules of the UESC. And that we even see more evidence of this in that 2400s period we were talking about, where they're seemingly assisting with not only doing a peace treaty, kind of working through that with MITA, between MITA and the UESC, in terms of like calming the stuff down on Mars and making sure they have their solution to the Christ solar orbiters, but also like actively contracting with the UESC to develop the marathon itself. So I think like they're working together, and then what we're seeing right now is a power shift. So as we're entering into 2888 and we're getting to, we're launching the Equanimity in the late 2700s, this whole situation with that is causing a shift where Traxxas is going, okay, well, maybe here in Seoul, you guys are the de facto power, but you guys just seemingly lost your colony, got your ass whooped out here in Tau Ceti. And I think Traxxas is going to try to take advantage of that. And that's kind of what we see play out in the chat logs for Traxxas, where they're going out to Tau Ceti to get the same stuff that the UESC wants: the power, the control, the land. I want to say even in the chat logs, they might even say something like, out there, we're not going to follow the rules. And back here, we're going to do operations as usual. We're going to do trade, and we're going to listen to them. We're going to follow their laws. But out at Tau Ceti, we're not following that. It's going to be us versus the UESC to get the resources and shit out there. And the UESC seems aware of that. That's when we're looking at the emails from the pre-launch of the Equanimity, and we're seeing, we don't know exactly who they're between, but it looks like generals or higher command in the UESC, and they're talking about the Warhawks and these people who are like out here to get money, and they're not going to care about UESC rule in law. Right, that makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah, I think so. So I think that's the kind of dynamic we're seeing between Traxxas and the UESC. And additionally, like I said, Sekaguchi is just a business, and I think they've held that position for an extended period of time, where it's like we're just giving our resources out. And I'm sure they're doing stuff like curing blindness and other ailments, in addition to creating Battleroids, so that they're generally on the the good side of the government. But I think what we're seeing here with Sekaguchi is that a lot of the stuff about the Sekaguchi emails is built around the higher-ups at Sekaguchi are fostering this relationship with Traxxas, because they understand that when Traxxas leaves the solar system, they have the potential, at least, to become the de facto power. So Sekaguchi is kind of behind the scenes. And even in the emails, you see Sekaguchi talking about hiding the order details and stuff from the UESC examiners or lawyers or whoever who are probing and watching over their contracts, and and what kind of deals are being done between Sakaguchi and Traxxas. So I think you kind of have the same where Sakaguchi is hedging their bets. They're not going to overtly come out and say like, fuck you to the UESC. We're going to sell our top class biomatas to a private company. We don't care if you're trying to put some regulation on it. But they're obfuscating what their true actions are to try to hedge their bets that Traxxas might fare better out, in Tau Ceti than the UESC may. Now, the thing that the UESC has up their sleeves, though, like we were kind of talking about, I don't know if you were here at the beginning of the stream, is that the UESC might have some, prior knowledge about, secretly and behind a lot of, bureaucracy, might have some knowledge about what potentially exists out there. And they may have been using, this Yaro technology in some of their tech for a longer time than what is apparently known to someone like Traxxas. But I would suspect that, this hyper-intelligent ancient AI like Traxxas is at this point might have deduced that they have some of that knowledge. It's very Cold War, you know what I mean? So I would say Traxxas and UESC, Cold War style enemies where they're going to pass each other in the hallway and smile at each other, but behind the scenes they're talking shit and posting shit about them on Facebook. That puts it into a more human context. And then Sakaguchi is this kind of middleman, they're very straight-laced business people, but they're hedging their bets with Traxxas. Maida, I don't think Maida fucks with any of these people, but Maida is going to do whatever it takes to make sure that they have a chance to win. So if that means they're going to have to work with Traxxas, I don't think Traxxas is any worse to them than the UESC is, or Sakaguchi for that matter. I think they think these are all megacorps. These are all, governments that are trying to control and oppress people, and look at what the fuck they've done so far. They put us on fucking Mars, and then they took away our ability to have resources, and then they stole our moon, which we're looking at right here. Free Mars, the lost child, the bloody hole making the marathon logo. Super cool, great art. And the thing that I wanted to pull up here, sneaky, was I had a really good video for it. I don't know if I up though. Oh, this right here. I had a video in my Traxxas analysis video that I had put this together very cleanly, but this is very much so directly talking about the mining operations that Traxxas is involved with. And so obviously what we're seeing here is not only is Traxxas benefiting from the labor itself, i.e., look, he's mining for Traxxas, but the sweat, even the sweat that the worker has in the mine conducting this labor is being siphoned off, and Traxxas is utilizing that to sell it back to their laborer. So they're taking advantage of them in many ways. And this is Maida's perspective. And this is another thing, Bomb, where it's in terms of how they feel, listen, they're just as pissed about the UESC stealing their moon and leaving them resourceless on Mars as they are about the operations that Traxxas is engaging in to take advantage of their citizenry, through these kind of harmful labor practices. And who knows what else, you know what I mean? Man, I don't know why they didn't put that together cleaner. My version is way better, guys. Honestly, I should send it to Hamish Sinclair. And he can update it with a clean, squared out one. But this, plays into the Oxia Pulse stuff. Okay. So let's put a date on this. Let's see. Oh, okay, here we go. Oxia Palace B01. What? That's not even the part where they talk about it in the chats. Okay, shaft collapse. Okay. 25 May 2888, 4:08 p.m. PST. Disruption escalating project. Clear we are not the only ones shadowing Goliath. United Shipping's going to set off a Cold War. Oh, and just so you guys know, I don't know if you Bon, in the chat logs, United Shipping is the code word for UESC. If you're going through and looking at some of the source stuff for this. Need our contractors sorted. They're talking about the runners, how's prep, phone test delivered, contracts updated and triggered. They're talking about head VT is the one who's putting together the coordination with the runners. I believe later on, head is the one who talks about runners. They listen to money, so you can trust them in that sense. Travel and tech support being finalized. They're talking about getting them to Tau Ceti. We're on track for TCIV. This is talking about how they're getting to Tau Ceti 4 for chasing the equanimity. All right, let's get down here. Okay. Uros BS0111, Oxpaw B01, shaft collapse. Okay, so this is the first time we see a reference. I'm trying to lock in the closest date and time we can. So this is 26 May, 12:01 a.m. Okay, so I'm gonna assume this might be a bold claim. I'm gonna assume these chats came in pretty close. You know what I mean? I'm gonna say that because they didn't start it with the shaft collapse, and Euros was talking about disruption escalating, project risk increasing. Clearly, we are not the one chatting Goliath. Because Euros is shown here, just like moments prior, talking about the like something else entirely. I almost want to say like this kind of confirms that like, hey, we got this information immediately. Like he was the one who had it, and then like as soon as it happened, he happened to be in the chat room and he fucking threw it in here. So I almost feel like we should use this date down to the time. If anybody disagrees with that, let me know your thoughts. But I think that's what I'm gonna go with. And what are we at here? 25 May 2888. 408. Okay. I'm gonna put this down here. All right. 25 May 2888 0408 p.m. I think that makes sense. All right. Thanks, Sneaky. Dude, you've been super helpful tonight. Thank you. Thank you. All right, and let me make sure. I kind of want to. We're currently reviewing the collapse B01. Okay, I'm gonna use this wording because I feel like it's more clear. I'm just gonna kind of rework this part of this sentence here, guys. Collapse at the let's go with this. Collapse at the B01 site of the Traxxas Oxia Pulse operation. I'm going to change this to an I just because spelling thing. Okay. And we'll keep that. If later on we come to a different conclusion, but I think that makes sense. Sneaky agrees. All right. Trying to see. Obviously, there's a few other things. I don't know if there's anything that occurs like I don't know if there's anything that occurs like with a good, like, hey, this is occurring now within here. You know what might be a good place to get a good date and time for this would be the order form, the Sakaguchi order. Probably in the emails. Let's scroll down here to the bottom. Yeah, here we go. Let's look at this. Let's go new tab here. Any dates here? Oh, that would be a fun date to put in, the Illuminate conference. Okay, so just to remind everybody, Yoshido Tamura gets invited to a like a business like conference, the Traxxas Illuminate 2888. That would be a fun that would be, if they have a specific date for that, we can put that in there, the date of the Traxxas Illuminate convention or whatever. We might be the only people in the world getting a kick out of that. All right, let's see here. If there's a date for in the email. Toilets. Oh, here we go. The email in 2888 is approaching. You have requested to participate in 3 panels on the cloning revolution and have scheduled 3 reminders in preparation for the event. The first of 3 reminders. Damn. That would be a fun date to have. And that just comes to the invitation that we were just looking at, right? Traxxas Illuminate. Oh, wait. The conference will be held at the new Legaspi Green Zone and Conference Ground 7. Oh, 22, 27, Link 680. Okay. Something that does anything interesting happen in 2777? What's your thinking? Let me see here. So let's see. So 2777, this is kind of in between. So the marathon's arriving at are you thinking because you're along the line of the sevens? What exactly do we know about the different tiers of biomata, if anything? Okay. Hold on one second. Let me sneaky. I'll do sneaky saying, and then hold on, ball, and I got something for you. Sneaky. Is anything interesting in 2777? Are you thinking like because Bungie is obsessed with their 7th? Yeah, there you go. Hey, you know something interesting that I just read on the story page is the founding of their company was not actually July 7th. They changed it because their weird 7 obsession, but I think it was June 14th is the actual day that it was founded. And I want to say the story page just had posted something about that the other day. It was kind of funny. But 2777, we're thinking in between. The marathon has arrived in the Tau Ceti star system, but the colony has not been established yet. So the only stuff I could be thinking going on would be kind of like between Bernard Strauss and Durandal. Like maybe because he's been awakened from the cryostasis here in the early 2070 or 2770s. And then, we talk about his abuse on Mars, but who knows what the interaction and relationship was like between Durandal, during this 10-year time period where he probably, he is rampant probably at that point. And he's kind of plotting his escape almost. Bond, what exactly do you know about the different tiers of the biomata? Okay, this is what we know. Exactly, precisely the only shit that we know. We didn't find anything here. I'll come back once we figure out what was the date. We didn't have a date we were doing next. All right, let me pull this up. This is everything we know exactly about the biomata. Okay, 1, we know that there are an A series, a B series, an S series, and a C series. Okay, we also know that there's a secret 5th one called the P series, which is what Traxxas was secretly ordering. That is what Sekiguchi was hiding from the UESC, that Traxxas was making this order for these classified P series clones. Okay, we know that each of the series of clones are given these kind of specific, I guess, metrics and numerics in terms of what they have. Generally, I can't tell you off the top of my head, but I believe like the A series, they kind of use language to imply that they're each more suited for different things. Like one's like, I think more like sleek, feeling and living life is enriched. My thinking here is that like basically what they're pointing out is that the different series of clones are going to have different abilities, or they're going to be more suited for one thing. That like the B series might be more rugged and meant for like mining jobs. The A series might be for like somebody who's more interested in experience, so they want to go smell something or taste something in a far off world, but they don't have the ability to, or a distant land, and they don't have the ability to physically go themselves. I think what they're getting at with that concept is that, like, for example, the A series, if it's better with senses, how that would apply to the game, this is where my head's at, is that, if you have better senses, you can see better. So maybe that's like a scanning or a visual thing in the world, or maybe you can hear footsteps better. The B series is more rugged. Maybe that's more like a tank class. It can take more damage, but it moves a little bit slower. The C class has whatever. So I think that's like what we know. And if you want to, Karnamir's Lore Archive, the Sekiguchi tab, cards. This is where all the stuff about the biomata specifically is. And then the S series is kind of the premier new one. And the S series is what convinced White Rabbit, which is Patch and Brill. That's what convinced them to take this job for Traxxas, which I believe they kind of talk about in the Traxxas chat logs. Is that they were convinced. All they needed to see was that they got to play with the new biomata. All right, so clearly that one's like more high end. If this badass mercenary, White Rabbit is interested in fucking around with it as a weapon toy, Go for the toughest jobs. P series, and then obviously the P series. And the information for the P series, Bond, is going to be very, very limited. I think I want to say. And the only reason that we know, where's the translate? The only reason we know that they ordered is because obviously we see these emails and them talking about it, and I want to say it's included on this one. So the 5, okay, the BMPTB0001 to 5, those are the P series, and look at the price difference. So here we're thinking 2,250, like these, like right here, these like bigger numbers, these are probably like the I don't remember exactly, I had it written down, we'd source some other stuff, but these are like other biomata, like ones like birth pods that they order, but I don't know if that's included in this order number. And so like you gotta look like price wise, like they're getting a lot of other stuff for kind of varying prices, but you see only 5 of these P series biomata, which are hidden under this kind of nomenclature here to obfuscate what they're actually selling, is like super expensive, 2 million whatever fucking shekels, credits, whatever they're going with. The other thing I was going to say about this. Oh, okay, here, let's pop over here so I can show you this. And we know that those are the P-Series drones, or biomata, because in the trailer, we see this. Oh, right here. Okay, hold on. Hold on. We're going to run into the same issue that Sneaky and I were having earlier. Hold on, I'm just going to play back this for you. I'm going to go slow so I can try to get it. This biomata here, we, at some point, I forget where it's at, we see the, oh, is it right here? At some point, we see that serial number appear on this birth pod for this biomata. So that's kind of, oh, right there, BMPTB0004. So we know that that is one of the 5 P-Series that are purchased. Yeah, cool. I'm thinking same thing about the abilities. I feel like this is what the IGN article is referencing about Hero Shooter. Yeah, I know. I Hero Shooter thing. You know who I would... I guess obviously she's a reporter. I'm not, a journalist, obviously. I'm just some dickhead with a YouTube channel. But I would love if I was able to like pick her brain, just ask like, what exactly did this person say to you? What, like, verbatim. I mean, maybe she uses it as a quote in the article, but I just feel like a selectable cast of heroes saying, I just wonder how that could have been taken, and what that kind of interpretation was. But yes, obviously I'm kind of thinking along your lines as well, where it's like, obviously, if you're utilizing biomata, which we've known from the beginning, or at least from the ARG and the teaser, like these are going to be like different ways of play. They're going to have different elements to them. To what aspect is that a hero? I don't know. And obviously, like, how much is that colored by the fact that they know that Joe Ziegler came from Valorant, and hero shooters are obviously kind of like a big deal right now at Sony, so I don't know how all of that like kind of played into the totality of that assessment, All right. Oh yeah, I remember we're doing this. Okay. This is something I learned when I was going through and doing the research for why does it not want me to do that now? When I was going through and doing the research for the videos I was making, is that date is an actual date. So we are going to have a date for this Illuminate thing. Jeez, if it'll pull up for me. Guys, we just had it. Okay, let's see if we can just pull it off down here. And on it. Okay, here we go. 22-27 link 680. I believe that is a date, in that on Mars, obviously, they have a different calendar method because position and whatever, science, logic we got going on here. But there was another date that was kind of like this that I was like, I don't know what the fuck that means. And I looked it up and it was a date. Oh, okay, what is this? Email scan reference. Oh, Mars Calendar 4. Okay, here we go. Fandom, Bungiepedia. Calendar. Okay. Mars Calendar for October 15th to 20th, 2888. Oh my god, we got a date. Okay, this is a good one. This is my favorite one. Traxxas Illuminate Convention. That's so fucking funny. Alright. Conference taking place. Back up here. Alright. And what were the dates we got here? October 15th to 20th. You know what? We're in October of 2888. I know we were just talking about having another range, but I feel like this one is just so good that we gotta include it. We just gotta. 2888. ARG. Oh, here, let me. Traxxas Illuminate Conference. It's fucking fun. Alright. Alright, good. So we got a few entries on here. We got a lot of good stuff. Alright. Guys, I think I gotta go. I got some stuff I gotta do tomorrow. And this has been a blast. I truly... Oh, I never turned the audio back on. Whatever. Next time we'll remember if that's relevant or good background vibes. Well, thank you guys. I feel like there are so many people here and really appreciate everyone in the chat talking and assisting and helping me come to some conclusions about this stuff and just hanging out and watching. I appreciate you all. If you haven't seen, I did post a video with this guy, Sado. He's a very nice dude. He's making videos here on YouTube about marathon. So if you cannot get your fix, hanging out watching stuff like this, and you want to hear more about marathon, there's a video that I did with him on my channel, and then the second half of that conversation is on his. So feel free to check that out. Give him a subscribe. I think the more marathon stuff we can get out here is better. And yeah, dude, thank you guys so much. It's been a real blast. I appreciate you all coming out. Bon, thank you, dude. And Bon, you were the guy who commented, right, that you're making marathon videos, I believe, right? If you do put those out, or if that comes together and that is you, or this isn't you, and I sound like a crazy person right now, but if you are doing that, let me know, and I'll definitely share that and try to get it out to some of the folks over here who like watching marathon stuff. But yeah, this was fun, guys. I think it's going to be cool. And I think once we have it all together, it's going to be super sick to kind of put this into like a good format, you know, like put it on a cool image, have it all lined up, and then maybe we can submit this over to Mr. Sinclair over at the story page and see if he wants to add it, since we went through the work of putting it together. That might be a fun thing for everybody. So it was a lot of fun. Thanks. Yeah, dude. Thank you. Sneaky, you were super helpful, dude. I really appreciate it. I had a good time with you. Hopefully, oh yeah, I'm going to be doing this every Monday at 8 is my goal. So I think like if there's something on like Bungie Day and I'm around, you know, I'll try to jump on. But I think like just to have consistency, so if you guys do want to jump in here and like hang out, I'm going to try to do it Mondays at 8 o'clock. Haha, yes, that was me. Got one done, working on another. That's awesome, dude. Congrats. Is it posted right now? I don't want to pull up your channel if you don't want me to, you know, front of everybody or whatever, but yeah, if it's posted right now, though, I'll definitely share that. And guys, hey, if you're here listening to this right now and you like marathon stuff, go subscribe to Bon. He's obviously putting in some work and putting stuff together for everybody, so definitely check it out. But yeah, Bon, definitely let me know if whenever you post that, if they're posted or whatever right now, I'll definitely share those. All right, guys. Thank you, everybody. It's been a blast. I appreciate you all. Have a good night. Stay safe. Happy 4th of July. Oh, Sneaky, you're working on a video too? God, we got the whole marathon creator community basically here right now then. It's all of us. Sado's not here, but this is everybody making videos about it. So yeah, definitely if you guys put them out, let me know and I'll share those. Anybody who wants to. So have a safe 4th of July. And yeah, dude. All right, I'll see you guys next Monday.